Hey, LaKeena, are we in Chicago or what? The Chicago Bears complete the greatest comeback in franchise history with epic proportions, defeating the Green Bay Packers 31-27. We'll discuss the good, the bad, and yes, the ugly of last Saturday night's NFC wildcard playoff. In basketball, the Bulls, who gives a damn? But in baseball, LaKeena's Cubs made another move. Yes, folks, it's true. Girl, you know it's true. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Is the World Series in the future, too? We'll get into that. And in college basketball, the Fighting Illini got a big win yesterday, defeating the Iowa Hawkeyes for their fourth Big Ten Conference win of the season. And in hockey, the Blackhawks do it again with an important shutout win in Nashville last Saturday night. And we'll have a special edition, a double dip edition of Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more. It's the hashtag Bears Victory Monday edition of the program starts now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one, a drive into left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr., his fourth of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edmund back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong. Goes wide, up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Bennington, no chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a pass. Buzelis with the fake on the drive.
Uze motions left. They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb Rose, middle of the field, Loveland catch. Breaks away the 30. Loveland 20. Loveland 10. Loveland end zone. Touchdown Bears!
Welcome to a Bears Victory Monday edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown over here. You know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you better hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and/or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to game you dumbos to Bill and Beer Boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Entertainment Game. That's checking us out live in living color right now at Sports House Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget much love to the replay game that's checking us out on the replay, also at Sports House Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
Why? Well, we value us on the best on Second City Sports. Of course, we got at the end of the show, as we always do here, we got a double dose of Old School TV Monday, including a special anniversary for the Bears. We'll talk about that in a second. Later on in the show, the Bulls get a nice win against the AD-less Mavs at a kidless Mavs at that. We'll explain that, and the rest of the wild weekend that was in the NBA. Of course, some college hoops, a couple of surprises. Illinois got a nice another nice win. And such, the Blackhawks get back on the winning track, and the Cubs, dare I say, they actually spent some money and they opened the checkbook. Really? No, really? Seriously? But yeah, but of course, we got to start, of course, with the Bears and the Packers. The Bears came back, scoring 25 points in the fourth quarter, beating the Packers 31-27. Caleb Williams threw 2 TDs, overcame 2 interceptions in that win. Swift, DeAndre Swift had a rushing TD. DJ Moore had that TD, and it was Kamari Zacchaeus who had that would end up being the game-winning TD. On the flip side for the Packers, 323 yards and 4 TDs for Jordan Love. I called that part. Romeo Dobbs called one of those TDs. Matthew Golden, who another guy that could be an unsung hero, he had a TD catch as well. Josh Jacobs only 55 rushing yards. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that as well. But of course, I know how loud it got at Soldier Field, and that's about as loud as that they can get. This is the Bears' first win in 15 years. But look, I've been listening to both sides of town for both the sports radio stations and such, all morning, and it's kind of funny the way folks are kind of looking at this and such. But what's your take, Sid? I'm going to ask you first, and then I'll chime in on the back end. Did the Bears win this game, or did the Packers lose? What say you?
Here's the thing, LaKeena. How many times have we talked about how the Bears have been winning games all year long? They start slow in the second half. They make their halftime adjustments, which previous Bears teams haven't. And then they go out and dominate the second half and find a way to win a ball game, which is all well and good. But how many times have you repeated this too throughout the year? How many times can the Bears keep doing this? Well, it's entertaining in the moment. For a long sustained success, it's not good in the long run. Now, I'll take you through my emotions quickly. The first half, the Bears going forward on fourth down, missing 3 or 4 on fourth down. That first half, not good. Ben Johnson's play calling was terrible. Dennis Allen's lack of adjustments during that first half on the defensive side, it was terrible as well. In the second half, the Bears coaching staff made the adjustments. The offense actually started scoring touchdowns instead of field goals after the third quarter. And on the flip side, it was Matt LaFleur that choked down the stretch, being conservative for the Packers, and their defense being tired and starting to crack under the pressure. Now, your question was, did the Bears win it, or did the Packers lose it? You could say it's a combination of the two, but if I had to pick a side, it was the Packers stepping on their own 2 feet in the second half.
And like I said, we'll get to that part. But yeah, look, as thrilling as it was, look, we've been, Bears have been doing this pretty much maybe for half their games this year, in the playoffs especially. But who they play, and they're going to be playing the Rams, not the 49ers. I don't know how the flagship station, ESPN 1000 got it mixed up that they would play the 49ers. They did win yesterday, but no, that's not how it works, folks. But we'll get to that in a bit here after the break. But yeah, the Bears for me, I mean, look, they went up 21-0. I'm talking about the Packers did. Brandon McManus missed a field goal, 55 yards. They should have gotten closer, but again, that's just me. But yeah, look, you give the Bears credit for making adjustments, putting Kyler Gordon in front. Tyreek Stevenson was out there as well. Okay, fine, that's all well and good, whatever. But the Packers, only 19 rushes for Josh Jacobs. I mean, like what? Like, why are you trying to throw a ball? We should have been running it. And yeah, I know there were a couple of drops. I know, Jaden Reed had a couple of drops, and I know Dobbs had a drop as well. There were a couple of fumbles and such, but it's one of those things where you're just like, yeah, this is sorry. As great as that comeback was, I'm sorry, the Packers, they choked. As simple as that.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you, discussing the Bears' 31-27 win over the hated Green Bay Packers, sending those Cheeseheads home for the offseason and advancing to the NFC divisional round, where they'll host the Los Angeles Rams coming up next Sunday. The time will be announced at a later date. I want to get into the coaching for the Chicago Bears. In that first half, Ben Johnson, they won the coin toss. They decided to take the ball. And on the opening drive, they put up 3 points. But after that, going on fourth down, missing on fourth down 3 of their first 4 tries, I thought it was ridiculous. I think it was a couple of things to look at here. I think it was a message that Ben Johnson said to Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, say, hey, I don't trust your defense because Jordan Love and the Packers came back and scored a touchdown right after you went up, took an early 3-0 lead. When the Bears couldn't convert on that fourth down plays, the Packers took advantage and went and scored two more touchdowns before the end of that first half to take a 23-3 lead. Now, LaKeena, I will pile on that at the end of the that first half of the Packers. You mentioned about Brandon McManus. That missed kick. First of all, if you couldn't get any closer, why would you attempt that anyway? I know the wind wasn't that much of a factor like it was 3 weeks ago, but still, why would you tempt the guy that he has a good leg? But remember, he made most. If you saw the graphic on Amazon Prime, his career long was 55, and that was when he was with the Broncos a decade ago. This is Chicago. This is not the elements of Denver with the altitude, which helps the elevation of a ball. This is Chicago, and why did Matt LaFleur attempt that 55-yard field goal? I don't know. You still have to lead anyway at 21-3. Why would you attempt a field goal? That didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and plus he was coming back. I think he was a little banged up as well. Lucas Harvisick, who is a second-year guy from Arizona, he had been 4 before. He played in I think about 4 or 5, 3 or 4 of their games. He was near perfect. So I would say, and I think one of those places was against the Giants where it was a little bit windy. He was perfect. So I was a little surprised that they went with McManus. I get that he has the playoff experience. He has a Super Bowl ring when he played with Peyton Manning and Von Miller over there at Denver. But again, he was coming off banged up. So for me, there's just a lot of things were kind of going through my head here about Matt LaFleur and the play calling, especially near the end of that first half. You should have just took the knee and just left. You should have taken the knee, take the lead. You had the ball in the second half, so just try to build on that lead and go for the knockout punch. They didn't. And they let the Bears hang around, and unfortunately, that's what came back to bite them. And the defense, their credit though, look, they sacked Caleb Williams about 3 times. They got 2 interceptions from him. They should have built on that, but the offense just couldn't get it going. And look, I know Bears fans are gonna be listening to this and say, well, why y'all paranoid? Because look, our show, this is how we do stuff. Yes, we're going to talk about the good, but we got to talk about the bad. That's just how it is. This isn't nitpicking. This is just telling the truth and what we saw on the field and what you guys saw on Saturday night. So, okay, just figure I leave it there. But yeah, I mean, that's making my case that, yeah, as great as that comeback was, yeah, the Bears made the adjustments, but the Packers choked. It's that simple.
We'll continue our Bears post-game thoughts following this timeout right here on Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. If you have any thoughts about the Bears' 31-27 victory over Green Bay last Saturday night at Soldier Field, hit us up in the comments at Sports Social Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Social Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. LaKeena, I'll ask you this question before we break for the bottom of the hour. Going to the Bears, which I addressed just a couple of moments ago. We criticize Ben Johnson for his play calling at times, and rightfully so. Does Dennis Allen, the DC, deserve the same heat? I said this to somebody in our chat during the game last Saturday. I think someone said it in my group chat last Saturday, and I said yes. I'll ask you: does Dennis Allen deserves the same heat? I get it because the Bears defense cannot generate a consistent pass rush without blitzing, and you saw, especially in that first half, when the Bears decided to blitz, Green Bay made him pay, i.e. Jaden Reed, as you said earlier, i.e. Romeo Doubs, who had a great game. Does Dennis Allen deserves the same heat as as we give Ben Johnson?
Yeah. He does, because like I said, he controls the defense, and some of the blitz packages, like you said, the Packers early on made him pay. And look, this is a team that doesn't have a good pass rush, and I got into it something on Twitter X about, well, they got the best defense. Look, they lead the league in takeaways, and that's it. But the rest of that defense, it looks pedestrian. So, I'm again just stating facts, not trying to look. This is just me stating facts here. I know people want to say, "Oh, you're being a hater or you're nitpicking." No, this is facts, folks. This is not a new thing. This has been this way all season long. So, folks are just they're in their meatball mode, and it's just there's no talking to Bears fans when they're in meatball mode. Some of them, but whatever.
We'll continue our Bears post-game show coming up. We'll review the rest of the NFL playoff action from over the weekend. We'll give you our Houston-Pittsburgh preview for tonight. For the Bears, we'll talk about Caleb Williams. We'll talk about the second half. And with the Green Bay Packers, did they make the right decision on Matt LaFleur? That and a whole lot more as you stick and stay on the hashtag Bears Victory Monday edition of Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey Maggette, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Bears Victory Monday. This year, locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
And you follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, the IG.
As we continue our Bears post-game edition of the epic comeback between the Bears and the Packers, and we'll review the rest of Wild Card Weekend coming up. If you have any questions or comments regarding the Bears' victory or any other playoff games that took place this past weekend, you can definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, the hungriest bear of the game as we go back to finishing up our Packers Bears wild card discussion. My hungriest bear, of course, was Caleb Williams. He overcame those 2 early interceptions and ended up throwing for 2 TDs, 361 yards, including that monster 4th down play that I think kept the Bears in it. All the Packers had to do was make a stop, and that kind of started that, going for the Bears. So that's who my hungriest bear is, Caleb Williams.
I'll go opposite for you, LaKeena. I'll pile on Caleb Williams in a good way in just a moment. But my hungriest bear is Devin Duvernay, the kick returner for the Chicago Bears, the one who wears jersey number 12. I know he has 6 kickoff returns, 3 punt, 3 kickoffs. he's my hungriest bear because he had two big returns in that second half. One in the third quarter, going to the fourth quarter, and one big return in that fourth quarter, which helped set up the Bears' comeback attempt, scoring 25 points in the fourth quarter. So my hungriest bear is Devin Duvernay, jersey number 12, kick returner for the Chicago Bears. Now you mentioned about Caleb Williams just a second ago. I'll be honest with you, LaKeena, the Bears would have lost this game. I would have came on here and ripped them to shreds. Because I know you said after the game, you make your money in the regular season. In the playoffs is all about legacy, which he's correct. But LaKeena, on those couple of interceptions, whether it was miscommunication or what have you, those balls should have not been thrown. Let's be honest here. But I will give him credit for this. That I know we saw him showing a lot of emotion on the sideline. Okay, yeah, great, whatever. That's for the cameras. That's for great theater. But the way he showed leadership, not only with his teammates, but with himself, and the way that he bounced back, especially in that fourth quarter, you do have to give him credit for that. That fourth down catch that Roman Duce had, Caleb put that on that throw on the money. I know he had the Jordan meme pose throwing off his left foot, that it was great. So you have to give him credit for that. Roman Duce coming down with that big catch, and of course the game-winning touchdown to DJ Moore with 1:42 remaining. You do have to give him credit for that. But I want to ask you, LaKeena, in that situation when the Bears went up by 4, did you think that was a good strategy to score right away? Because I thought you giving Jordan Love and that Packers offense too much time. I thought at the time that it was a bad decision to score right away. You want to run the clock down and give Green Bay the least amount of time to go score and win the game.
Yeah, I think that probably would have been, but I think they might have been, the Packers might have been told to just let them score so they can give them a shot to win. And the Packers did. I mean, they got, to about as far, I think it was like the 38 or something like the 42 or something like that. Love, dropped a couple that the last snap. I mean, had he not dropped the snap and gotten a chance to set himself up to perhaps maybe make a Hail Mary throw, if you will. There were a couple of guys right there that could have won the game. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't really mind it. But if the Packers were going to let them score, I mean, there was nothing the Bears could have done about that at that point. So, unless someone would have kneeled. But then the Packers still had a couple of timeouts. So, it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Now, with Caleb Williams bouncing back in the fourth quarter to lead the Bears on to victory, how much do you think this is going to help him going forward? Despite what happens next Saturday, next Sunday against the Rams, how much will you think is going to help him going forward, not just in next week, but next season and beyond?
Yeah, it could help them go down a line, but like I said, you're going to be facing a really good defense in the Rams. So, I think that's really going to be the thing. They're going to be rushing the pass, like crazy. You've got, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, you got and guys like that. So, I don't think it's really, just put a capper on this Bears discussion because I want to move on to the rest of the wild card games. And we got to preview the Texas Steelers and also the coaching carousel right now in the NFL. But yeah, I think this is going to be interesting to see how he does though. But I mean, look, could it help him get better? Yeah. But the problem is that now more defense is going to have tape on you. So it could be a double-edged sword for Caleb. So we'll see.
Okay. And just one quick nugget about on the flip side for the Green Bay Packers. I know that Matt LaFleur's job security was in question, especially following that loss last Saturday. According to Adam Schefter of the 4-Letter Network, the Packers in the front office are working on an extension for him. Some people, I know there's Packers fans that split on both sides that it's not a good idea or a bad idea, a good idea and a bad idea to keep him. But despite what happened last Saturday, as of right now, the Matt LaFleur and the Packers front office are working on an extension for Coach LaFleur. But I think there's going to be some changes within his coaching staff. But we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, because you got the Ed Policy, that's his name. He took over from Mark Murphy in July of last year. So I know he's been kind of, and deservedly so, not so, keen on what's been happening. So if they do decide to keep LaFleur, I mean, look, you got John Harbaugh. I know I've heard some Packers fans even talk about him perhaps maybe, if they decide to move on for LaFleur. But I'm sure, with Jeff Halley, I think he might be getting a job somewhere, and the OC, he might be getting a job too. So there might be some more changes like among, the coaching staff, but again, we'll have to wait and see.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you now. Let's review the rest of the playoff action that took place this past weekend. If you have any more Bears comments, keep them coming at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Let's start off with the game that took place before the Bears-Packers game last Saturday. It was the Los Angeles Rams who will travel here to Chicago to face the Bears next weekend in the NFC divisional round of the playoffs. But before then, they took on the Carolina Panthers on the road again in Charlotte, and they came out 34-31 on top. Matthew Stafford, 24 or 40 of 42, 304 yards passing and 3 touchdown passes. Kyron Williams for the Rams, 13 carries for 57 yards. But on the flip side for Carolina, LaKeena, it was Jalen Coker who had a breakout performance. 9 catches for 134 yards and a touchdown. Carolina, give them credit, even though some people said they didn't deserve to be in the playoffs because of their 8-9 record with overall in their NFC South Division champions hosting the playoff game. But give Carolina credit, just like they did when they upset the Rams a month ago. They gave the Rams all they could handle, but the Rams came out on top.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting and mind-boggling that they give the Panthers credit. I mean, look, they kept they stayed with the Rams. They came back. It was back and forth, especially that fourth quarter. 28 points were scored combined. But Matt Stafford showing off that the experience going down the field and just going just having it right there and such. That late TD to Cody Parkinson, and that helped. Of course they held on. Of course the defense made the big stop near the end. So that's what had the Rams got the Rams to hang on. So yeah, look, Sean McVay, this is his first rodeo. So you got to think that he was able to kind of overcome that. So it's going to be interesting though to see how the Rams do. I know people are saying I see a lot of Bears fans talking about they're because I guess Stafford has a sprained pinky finger on his throwing hand. So folks are already Bears fans are already trying to make a big deal about it. But this is a guy that's been doing this for a long time now. He knows. He's played through injuries and such and has played well, but the Rams showed you why that they had won a Super Bowl a few years back. This is what they do. They'll wear you out in some spots, and then the defense made the big play at the end.
And also to keep this in mind for Matt Stafford, we'll get more deep into this on Friday when we preview Bears Rams right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Matthew Stafford is just like Tom Brady at his stage of his career. He's seen every defense. He knows every blitz. He knows every scheme, every audible, every formation. So you're not going to fool Matt Stafford. Like I said, give Carolina the Panthers defense credit. Unlike the Bears, they're more active, they're more hungry, and they're more aggressive. But like you said, LaKeena, it's the difference between winning in the playoffs and just showing up. It's the difference between experience and facing as a team that's growing like in Carolina. Very teams in difficult situations know what to do. And the Rams have been here before, as you mentioned. They won the Super Bowl in 2021, so many of those guys are still on the team from that team. So you mentioned you have a veteran like Matthew Stafford leading the way. You expect it to come through in tough situations like they did last Saturday on the road.
I love the fact that they're already Bears fans already talking about the bear weather thing. I mean, look, I know Matt Stafford. Yeah, I know Matt Stafford played indoors in Detroit, but he actually he's played here in the cold. He's played at Green Bay in the cold, another place in the cold. Devontae Adams played in Green Bay for years. Puka Nacua went to BYU. Kyron Williams went to Notre Dame. And Braden Fisk played at Florida State. So and such. Jared Verse, both played at Florida State together. It got a little cold there. So for folks that want to do the whole bear weather thing, just stop it. Stop, please. It's annoying.
Yeah, and just for the record, as of right now, the high temperature for next Sunday's contest will be 14 degrees. So we'll see what happens there. Let's go over to the triple header games that took place yesterday. We'll start off with the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first AFC wildcard playoff game. It was the Buffalo Bills with the experience coming through, beating the Jaguars 27-24 on the road. Josh Allen, 28-35 for 273 yards passing in a touchdown pass. He also had a touchdown run as well. Travis Etienne for the Jacksonville Jaguars, their star running back, 10 carries for 67 yards. And I said this guy's name last Friday that could be an X factor for the Jaguars. Parker Washington, 7 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I know he got banged up early on, but he came back and caught that TD pass for Lawrence. But this is Buffalo's first road playoff win. You got to go all the way back to 1992, back in the those early 90s Bills teams with your Jim Kellys, your Thurman Thomases, Andre Reed, and Steve Tasker and those guys. But look, Josh Allen made the rushes. He made that big rush near the end that set up that TD and that game that ended up winning the game-winning TD. James Cook had his big rushing moments as well. Also, Khalil Shakur had a couple big catches that started that drive for them. The defense, I know that they were a little suspect there, a little touch and go, but it was Javius White's knocking down the pass that caught that interception from Cole Bishop late to seal that win. And look, the Buffalo looking really good so far.
Yep. I know that Liam Cohen, the head coach of the Jaguars, got into it with a couple of reporters following the game. You can go look that up yourselves on Google. But the Jaguars, they actually fought back, scoring 14 points in that fourth quarter. They actually kept up with Buffalo, but Trevor Lawrence looked good in spots. But as we said with the Carolina Rams game, the Bills, as we said on Friday with ourselves and Christine, when I think we all picked the Bills. The Bills, you don't have Baltimore in your way. You don't have Kansas City in your way. All the road games, all the games you're going to play in the playoffs will be on the road until you get to the Super Bowl, should you get that far. You have to be mentally tough, and you've been there before. You've been through tough situations. You got to make the plays at the right time, as you mentioned, with that interception on Jacksonville's potential game-winning drive. The Bills' defense, which has been maligned all year long, their secondary came up with a big turnover to help seal their victory.
Big turnover there. Now, probably one of the biggest surprises, a wild card weekend so far is the 49ers. With all the injuries they've had and all the craziness, they beat the defending champs. We're going to have a new Super Bowl champion this year. They beat the Eagles 23-19. Brock Purdy overcame 2 interceptions, threw for 2 TDs. Christian McCaffrey caught 2 TD passes, including the visual game winner. Jalen Hurts, he struggled 168 yards in the TD, only 106 rushing yards for Saquon Barkley. Key drops by guys like AJ Brown, who I know he and Coach Sirianni got into it earlier in the game. And Devontae Smith, just a lot had the chance to perhaps maybe advance the drive for Philly, but he had a drop as well. So, and the defense for the 49ers, Eric Kendricks, who had made a couple big stops and tackles late in that game to seal the win for the 49ers. This was a guy that wasn't even on the team about a month ago. So just imagine, look, we talked about Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, but you got to think that Kyle Shanahan could definitely make a case for Coach of the Year with all the injuries they've had. The fact that they've been able to get to the playoffs, now they're going to face Seattle, and they may get Fred Warner back. They might. I know that there have been some rumors that he might come back. I know, of course, he ruptured his Achilles earlier in the season, and but since it wasn't torn, he has a chance of coming back. Should he be able to? I know he's been practicing a little bit here and there, but what did you think about that game yesterday, Sid?
Let's give Robert Saleh his second goal as defensive coordinator of the 49ers. Let's give him credit as well. They were very aggressive and very selective when they decided to blitz Jalen Hurts. And the Philadelphia Eagles only scored a total of 6 points in that second half off 2 field goals. That's not going to win you many ball games in the playoffs. And let's not forget about the special teams aspect of this. Jake Elliott missed the extra point early in the game. I thought, I was like, that's going to come back to bite him, and it sure as hell did. I don't know about you, LaKeena. I'll go to Philadelphia side first. We talked about this when the Bears beat the brakes off of them on Black Friday almost 2 months ago now. Jalen Hurts, I know that Philadelphia is trying to save his legs for whatever reason. I don't know. I know you don't want him to get hurt, end up like Cam Newton 2.0 and quitting early, but we saw a little bit of the signs late in the season that, okay, Jalen Hurts is starting to get back to the old Jalen Hurts and whatnot. And then yesterday, we did not see that at all. Yes, Dallas Goedert, their tight end, had a good game, but A.J. Brown complaining. Saquon Barkley got over 100 yards, but just watching the game, looking at you, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but you didn't feel like it was impactful. You know what I'm saying? Like, 49ers got to stack the box to stop them. They didn't do that. They didn't have to do that. They pressured Jalen Hurts, and they won the ball game. So for Philadelphia, I think it's going to be changes in the offseason. Will Nick Sirianni keep his job? Yes, but I think that offensive coordinator is gone. Perhaps maybe A.J. Brown is gone too, because you're going to put up with so much stuff from your star wide receiver for so long. You saw what happened with Terrell Owens 20 years ago. I think the same is going to happen here. So we'll keep on the eye off for what Philadelphia does this all season. But on the flip side, for the 49ers, like you said, give the players on that field credit. Give Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh, the D coordinator, credit. It's on to Seattle next Saturday. I think we talked about the Seahawks on the show all year long, but with them being divisional rivals and with them facing off for the third time like the Bears-Packers did last Saturday, it's going to be a hell of a war, as the late great Tony Siragusa once said.
Yeah, I mean, they split their, of course, Seahawks, got the number 1 seed, beating the 49ers a couple of weeks ago. But, but shout out to Juwan James and that TD pass. People forget that when he was at Tennessee, he was sought after both wide receiver and running back. I think he only passed like twice when he was at Tennessee. But like he still got it. Give that TD pass to Christian McCaffrey. That was a hell of a call by Coach Shanny here. Now, probably the most boring game, and I'll admit I kind of kept this game in the background. It was all Patriots last night, 16-3 over the Chargers. Drake May threw for a TD. Ramondre Stevenson, 53 rushing yards. He also had 75. Ramondre Stevenson, he also had 75 receiving yards, so he had a nice game last night. On the flip side, Justin Herbert only 159 yards. He led the team in rushing. Yuck. And check this out, Sid. The Patriots only allowed no TDs, had 6 sacks. They sacked Herbert 6 times. They allowed under 100 rushing yards, 150 net passing yards. The only other team to do that in the Super Bowl era in a playoff game was the Bears. They did it against the Giants in '85 in the divisional round. So, take that what you will, but yeah, the Patriots. Look, Mike Vrabel, he had a little blood because I guess he hit his face against one of the players' helmets. He had a little bit of blood coming from his nose, but he loves it. So he's been, we know he's done this multiple times. He got 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots, but it's pretty funny though. But yeah, it was all Patriots last night.
Yeah, for the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, as we call them on this show, for the second year in a row, the offense failed to show up in the playoffs on the road. Last year was Houston. This year is New England. You can make excuses about the offensive line. Talking about the Chargers, it was banged up from the start of the season until now. Yes, that's true. But the lack of a running game is not going to win you many games in the playoffs. We know what Jim Harbaugh does. He's a tough-nosed coach. He likes to run in the trenches, and we didn't see that much last night. Now, the Chargers defense, as you mentioned, stepped up with 5 sacks on Drake May, but they didn't get any help from the offense, particularly in the run game. I didn't see it. I don't know if you did. I don't know. I know I didn't see it.
It was bad.
But like you said, shout out to Mike Vrabel in the Patriots. I know people say, well, they benefit from the soft schedule. Yes, that's what happens when you stink for the last couple of years. You get a soft schedule, you take advantage of it. That's what happens. So Patriots fans, you shouldn't apologize for it. But the Patriots defense stepped up big last night. I know Christian Gonzalez there, defensive back who's been injured all year. He got nicked up last night. Hopefully he's okay. Going back to that Seattle, San Francisco matchup for next week, George Kittle, the tight end, he ruptured his Achilles, so I think his season is over. So 49ers will be without him. But just putting a cap on this Chargers-Patriots game, the Patriots set the tone early on defense. They didn't have to have an explosive offensive game, but in the Patriots' next game next week, the offense better come ready to play because Drake May, it was nice leading the team with rushing yards for 66, but Trevion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson, who had a nice catch and run early in the game, they're going to have to step up in the running game department next week if they want to go far.
Going to be interesting. They will face the winner of tonight's game between the Texans and the Steelers. But first, Sid, let's do our studs and duds. Go.
All right, my 3 studs are as follows. Going back to last Saturday's Bears went over the Packers. I'll give it to Colston Lovely. 8 catches for 137 yards as the Bears come back from 18 points down to beat the Packers 31-22. 27, I should say. My second stud will go to Matt Stafford, 304 yards passing, 3 touchdown passes as the Rams beat the Panthers by 3 on the road, 34-31. And my third stud will go to Demarcus Robinson. Yes, the wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. 6 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown.
He was the LFG, of course, Tom Brady's LFG player of the game last night. You still one of mine, but I'll still use him because he had a great performance. Matthew Stafford. This is his 4th straight road playoff game with 300+ passing yards. That breaks a tie with Tom Brady and Drew Brees for the most consecutive such games in NFL history. Pretty impressive there. So he's my stud. Of course, leading them down the field to Parkinson with that ended up being the game-winning touchdown. Josh Allen put the team on his back. The Bills and just literally powered his way through. If you saw that play before they scored the touchdown, just literally carried like a bunch of D-line guys for the Jags with them down to the 3/4 yard line, if you want to be technical. But that was a nice showing there. And also that San Francisco, that defense. I mean, that defense has been stellar despite being banged up. And shout out to Robert Saleh. He's more of that for my for my stud as well. And shout out to Tom Brady, of course, during that game. He kind of explained because it was a little bit windy out there in Pittsburgh. Philadelphia, I should say, and he actually showed really great showing how you grip the ball. I mean, he's done this a few times. He has a few Super Bowls, so I think he's more than qualified to talk about this. But yeah, so shout out to Tom Brady, who's getting better and better each week, on his commentating.
I couldn't agree with you more. Our 3 duds, I'll start. The Chargers offense, I just discussed that a couple moments ago. Philadelphia Eagles offense, 6 points in that second half, bad. And of course, going back to that Green Bay Chicago epic comeback game for the Bears. I'll go on the flip side. Matt LaFleur being conservative in that second half. He's lucky it didn't cost him his job, but being conservative in that second half, not good. In a lack of running game. Josh Jacobs, real quickly, going back to that in that second half. Why was Josh Jacobs doing in a kicking game not a kick game, but in a kick return department?
Hands
the
team,
first
yeah,
kick he had, he fumbled.
Yes, he did.
He
Yeah.
fumbled.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, that's just the start of what kind of started the collapse of the Packers, if you will. And that's my dud. They're the Packers. Matt LaFleur and Brendan McManus left a lot of points on the board. Leaving it there. Jacksonville, look, they'll learn. Carolina, they'll learn. So I'm not going to get on them. Philadelphia, there's going to be a lot of changes. A lot of guys might be, AJ, like I said, AJ Brown might be gone. The OC might be gone as well. So, yeah, I'm going to do that as my dud. And also the Chargers, Greg Roman especially. Yeah, you might be going bye-bye. I know he hired you as a favor, of course, from Jim Harbaugh to, of course, his brother John. Of course, he was a long-time OC over there in the Ravens. But what the hell was that offensive play calling last night against the Patriots? The defense did their job. They did their job. Y'all didn't try to help them. But, again, I digress. But continue.
All right, the NFL Super Wildcard Weekend wraps up tonight at 7:15 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN, ABC, and the Eli and Peyton Manning cast on ESPN2. The Houston Texans with 12-5 record represent the AFC South. They'll head to Pittsburgh to take on the 10-7 AFC North Division champion Steelers. Houston's currently favored by 3. Yours truly picked the Houston Texans to win tonight. I said they had to score 21 points or more. It might take them 17 points to win tonight. The game time temperature is supposed to be 34 degrees. We know you have C.J. Stroud on the Houston side, Aaron Rodgers on the Pittsburgh side. I said that the Texans will have to find a running game, whoever decides to run the ball for the Texans. On the flip side, you have Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren for the Steelers. LaKeena, I don't know. I forgot who you picked, but how do you see this game tonight? Do you think that the Texans have a chance?
Yeah, I picked Houston as well, and I think because of that defense, I'm sure you're going to see a lot of Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter, Darryl Stingley Jr. I mean, I'm sure D'Amico Ryans, Coach D'Amico Ryans will have his defense ready, to come at Aaron Rodgers. And like you said, it might be one of those like 12, you only need maybe 13 to 17 points probably to win that game. And I don't trust that offense for the Steelers, to be honest. I know that they're going to be at Heinz Field. So, but yeah, I think that because of the defense, I think it's really going to be, this is really Houston's game to lose, I feel like, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Last reminder, that's tonight's wild card weekend from the AFC. As Super Wild Card weekend concludes, tonight's game can be seen on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN2 at 7:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right, LaKeena, we off and running. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 just around the corner right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena's favorite baseball team locally is the Chicago Cubs. Yes, they made a move, and it was announced during the Bears' comeback attempt against the Green Bay Packers. We'll get into that, and we'll review the Bulls' victory over Dallas. No one cares, but we have to do because that's our job. We'll discuss those two subjects as we kick off our number 2 of the program. I'm sure there's Michael Reinsdorf calling right now. Tell him to listen to this program. As you listen to Second City Sports, I'm Sid. That's LaKeena right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Bears Victory Monday this year. A lot to load and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and using the IG.
You have any questions or comments for us regarding the Bears? I know you're still excited, but we're moving on to the Cubs and baseball, of course, the Bulls and the NBA to kick off hour number 2 of this program. If you have any questions and comments regarding those subjects, you got to hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Now, talk about a news dump. Shout out to John Heyman and Jeff Passan, who I had to double check to make sure, yes, those were their real accounts. Because the news dropped about like 8, like before 9 o'clock, and it was right in the middle of the Bears Packers wild card game. But yeah, it's true. Alex Bregman, the 31-year-old third baseman, he played for the Red Sox last year. Well, and the Cubs were interested in him last year, but they couldn't get him. Of course, they ended up signing with the Red Sox. Well, talk about second chances. The Cubs signed him to a 5-year, $175 million deal. The three-time All-Star joins the club after, of course, they failed to try to get him at free agency. It has no opt-outs, includes a full no trade. So, but also a lot of them, about $75 million of that money will be deferred. So, again, I guess someone must have finally told the Ricketts family, yes, you can use those deferments. That's how they can sign another piece or two if they choose to. But yeah, this is a big signing for the Cubs. Of course, 2019 MVP, and I know I listened to a little bit of the Boston Sports Radio. They're pissed about this, but yeah, sorry, but yeah. He has 2 World Series titles, so he has a lot of experience. 7 straight AL Championship Series appearances. During this, of course, the time with the Astros. He has 34.2 wins above replacement. That's the 8th most among position players and such. So we saw a lot of Cubs fans that we know said that they were very surprised by this signing. And even AJ Prziski said in his podcast that he thinks that they're the favorites to win the Central because of this signing. What do you think?
Yeah, shout out to AJ Prziski. He was at the Bears game last Saturday as well. So nice follow. So if you follow him on Instagram and X. But this Alex Bregman signing is a long time coming for you Chicago Cubs fans. I know we've been clamoring down more so LaKeena than yours truly that the Cubs and the Ricketts family need to add like a big marketing. That when you want to go to the next level, you need to go to the next level. You make moves like this. Now with Alex Bregman, as I talked about last year, LaKeena, even though he played it only in 114 games due to injury, he had 18 home runs and 62 RBIs with a .821 OPS on base percentage. The Boston Red Sox basically got to the playoffs without him. Yes, he did some good things with them at times, but he was mostly injured throughout the whole year. Like Roman Anthony and Brian Bello, that one of the young starting pitchers, helped elevate Boston to heights unseen in a while as far as them getting back to the playoffs. But this is a good move for the Chicago Cubs. I think you definitely sent me a message. I know they're trying to trade Freddie Peralta. Rumor has it right now because they don't have the funds to keep him. But I think this definitely puts you over top of the division. Barring any major injuries, I think the Cubs should win this division. Does this put you on top, on even kill with the Dodgers and with the Braves, who I think they'll come back this year fully healthy? I think so. But the number one question to me, they still need to make another move. Who's going to be your starting right fielder? It cannot be Seiya Suzuki again. His defense is spotty at best. You cannot have that again going into 2026. You didn't see it as much last year because of Kyle Tucker, but Seiya Suzuki cannot be your starting right fielder again. DH is where he needs to play. You saw him do that most of last year. He was great in that role. Could have been an All-Star game, but that's a whole nother conversation. Also, to me, LaKeena, if I was Carter Hawkins and Jed Hoyer, and maybe they'll have to wait until the start of spring training, but I think you can get an extra starting pitcher. You may have to go through the middle tier if Zach Gallen and some of the other guys that haven't signed yet, they haven't signed, you go after them first. But you may have to look at the middle tier to get you an extra starter because, as we've seen over the last few years, look at the Los Angeles Dodgers, not so much last year in 2025, but in 2024 when they beat the New York Yankees in the World Series, they had to use every pitcher just about on their roster due to injuries and whatnot. So it doesn't hurt to have enough starting pitching depth because, as we said before, Justin Steele, you may not see him until May, maybe June at the earliest. Shota Imanaga got hurt last year, but came back, but failed in the playoffs for the first time, his first go around playing in the playoffs. You still have Matthew Boyd, you still have Javier Sai, and let's not forget, everything goes right, he should be in the starting rotation this year. going into his second year. Cade Horton, who pitched well last year, should have been up and running for the Rookie of the Year. So the Cubs have depth in their starting rotation. They rebuilt their bullpen. They brought a couple guys back from last year, including Caleb Theobar, the strong left-hander. So the Cubs have the pieces in place. You just got to get a right fielder. It will not hurt. It will only help to pick up an extra starting pitcher.
Yeah, they're going to exceed the luxury tax threshold this season, and I'm sure they're fine with that. They're also, I know some people say, well, they might trade Nico Hoerner. Jesse Rogers, ESPN 1000, of course, Baseball Insider, already said that they're not going to do that, so that helps the Cubs in that regard. But yeah, like you said, so they are going to have to get a second baseman and perhaps maybe even get a starting pitcher, even if you have to go in that middle tier, because Zach Gallen, he might be too expensive since you already paid that money to Bregman. Now that $75 million in deferment, that might actually help, because that could get you a chance to sign a couple of guys, and perhaps maybe even add a lot of incentives, assembly deals for that. Now, like I said, the Red Sox fans are not very happy because, according to Jesse Rogers, they were going to land Burr with a 5-year, $165 million, including the 25 deal he signed last year. That would have paid him $205 million over 6 years with deferments. So the fact that he went with a little less money and deferments makes you think, makes you wonder, like that makes you kind of think a little bit. But yeah, this is a good signing for the Cubs. They actually are thinking like a third market team. Really? Now again, I think this will definitely, again, you got to get an extra second baseman, get you an extra pitcher, just to kind of have that pitcher's depth, because see what happened with the Dodgers last year. So it's going to be interesting to see the next 2 weeks before Valentine's Day when they go to spring training. But this is a great signing for the Cubs. They've had a great off season so far.
Yeah, I forgot to mention I'm talking about the Cubs. They traded for Everett Cabrera last week in exchange for Owen Casey and 2 prospects. Here's the thing: what you going to do with Matt Shaw? I know that his offense was bad in the first half last year. You sent it down. He came back up. Actually, I believe he led the team in home. I don't think he led the team home runs. I think 8 or 9 home runs in the second half. His glove was there, so his glove wasn't the problem. It's just his bat. His bat improved just enough to stay on the team last year after the All-Star break. But what do you do with him now? Do you trade him? Is he your utility guy coming off the bench? I think that's another question. Obviously, that has to be answered very soon.
Yeah, I would think that maybe they would keep him as a utility guy because he can play outfield, he can play in the infield. So I would say, try to keep him. Now, again, if he gets something good for him, if you're Jed Hoyer and Connor Hawkins, I probably would say, hey, see what the market's like out there. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Matt Shaw. But I would say for right now, I would say keep him. But if you can get something good for him, then if like I said, if you're Hoyer and Hawkins, you should try to maybe see if you can get him something. But I would say for right now, I would say keep him, but that's just my opinion.
I heard Bruce Levine on the radio this morning. I think he brought it this point. And I'm gonna try to paraphrase to the best of my knowledge. The Cubs convention starts this weekend on MLK Day weekend, and that's probably when you're going to see Alex Bregman talk to the media if he doesn't do it between now and Friday when we come back on the air. Nico Hoerner has, as you mentioned earlier, has not signed his extension yet. Do you think the Cubs will announce his extension signing at Cubs convention? That would be great. Or perhaps announce another trade or a big signing at Cubs convention. I think this sets up perfectly for that. But if none of those things happen, especially with Nico Hoerner, you may have some problems. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting though to see. Like, we know that the Cubs always make these kind of surprise things, at the Cubs convention. So I want to see what they do here. Do they give him an extension? Do they, perhaps maybe announce another big trade? We'll see. But I think, like I said, I think Jed Hoyer might have something else up his sleeve, but we'll see.
Yeah, remember last year is bringing back Sammy Sosa for the Cubs convention last year. Fans came down, and you saw them excited and whatnot. And Sammy Sosa is I believe in the Ring of Honor for the Cubs. Maybe he'll be there again this year, but he won't be the big star. Obviously, it'll be Alex Bregman. As we said before, the Cubs' expectations are high, and it should be. I think at least on paper they're past the Milwaukee Brewers. This should be the favorite to win the NL Central, but it's time to bring it up to the big boy level as you're competing against the Atlanta Braves, competing against the Los Angeles Dodgers to be the top dog in the National League. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. We still have some time left in this segment to kick off hour number 2. Let's transition over to the NBA. While the Bears were completing their comeback against the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bulls decided to win the game and win it in convincing fashion. I'm just reading the score, folks, so don't blame the messenger. Just get mad at the message. The Bulls beat the halfless Dallas Mavericks 125-107. This is Cooper Flags, the rookie from Duke for the Dallas Mavericks. This was his first time playing in Chicago. He had 11 points off of 4-13 shooting. On the flip side for the Bulls, Nikolai Vucevic, 15 points, 12 rebounds. Matas Buzelis, 15 points and 6 rebounds. And Kevin Huerter, the star shooter for the Chicago Bulls, off the bench in 25 minutes of action. He had 13 points, including 5 of 10 shooting overall, 2 of 6 from downtown.
Yeah, Isle had 20 points, including 3 for 4 off the bench, and also 22 points from Kobe White as well. And also, of course, AD didn't play. He's nursing that elbow injury. And also, Jason Kidd got the boot early in this first quarter. So, but yeah, that was
he wanted to watch the Bears game.
Yeah, probably. So you might have had some money on that Bears Packers game. but yeah, so look, I mean, you took advantage of that. The Mavs have been up and down and such. So not really a big surprise that they were able to pull it out, but it gets a little bit nutty. Of course, this is sort of like the microcosm of the Bulls season. The games that you think they would win, they end up winning it. So they're on the road tomorrow. They play KD in Houston, so that should be interesting to see what happens there. We know Houston
they're going to be in a foul mood because they lost last night at Sacramento.
Yes, let's talk about that from we'll talk about that in the back end. But yeah, that was they're not gonna be in a very good mood. The Rockets are, so that they might give it to the Bulls on tomorrow night. But nice for the Bulls. Okay, moving on.
I'll say this about Chicago. They shot the ball well overall at 52%. Yes, they struggled with 33% 3-point shooting, but they shot the ball well overall. They dominated with the points in the paint, and they had a plus 10 rebounding advantage overall over Dallas, 52-42. So we talked about the Bulls giving up too many offensive rebounds and just being out rebounded at times in games, but they really put it on Dallas from start to finish. It was a nice win from a morale and from a confidence standpoint for the Bulls. Let's see if they can do it against a better team on the road against Houston tomorrow night. Because as we said just a second ago, Houston's in a foul move for losing to one of the worst teams in the league in the Sacramento Kings on the road last night for them.
Yeah, 22 for DeMar for the Kings there in that in that game. And no, this is only their 9th win of the season. Amon Thompson had 31 points for the Rockets. So Houston's not going to be in a very good mood. KD had his struggles from the field, so he might not. He loves playing the Bulls too, so he might take it out on the Bulls tomorrow night. Atlanta beat Golden State 124-111. Nickel Alexander Walker had 24 points. Atlanta's playing pretty well since trading Mr. Trae Young. We'll get to another big win that they had earlier in the weekend. Phoenix beat Washington. Look, they're taking care of business down there in Phoenix. They're 24-15, and look, they're taking care of the teams that they should be beaten. So they're like 15-3 or something like that against teams with below 500. So Phoenix is doing their thing. Denver with a nice bounce back win, 25 points for Tim Hardaway Jr. trying to hold down the fort while Jokic is healing from his injury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Milwaukee. I don't know if you heard last week that Giannis said that he wants to stay a Milwaukee Buck his whole career. Then he's trying to backtrack, say, but if I feel like I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. As I told you during our NBA preview show back in October. If the Milwaukee Bucks are healthy, they should be right there as a contenders for the Eastern Conference. Now that Giannis is back, Milwaukee's starting to play better. They had a couple little hiccups here over the last week or so. But if the Bucks are not back at 500, look for Giannis to make some noise again. My prediction is I think he'll stay in Milwaukee at least for the rest of the year. But I think we're going to revisit this madness all over again over summer because remember he's due for an extension before the start of next season. And as I said in October. Giannis, I don't care what anybody from his camp says. He has 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And those comments last week didn't reiterate. I don't know what you're watching or listening to.
Yeah, he did. He was trying to do the moonwalk with those comments. You know, the old Michael Jackson moonwalk, like with that, like trying to backtrack. So yeah, not that I'm not saying he's a liar, but okay, yeah, that's all right. But whatever. But back to yesterday's games. OKC beat Miami. SGA had 29 there, and I got a chance to watch this game via this computer screen here. It was actually on at the same time, so I ended up watching as Chargers Patriots. I ended up watching this game and said it was back and forth for a little bit, but even though they were down early, T-Wolves scored 33 points, including a go-ahead jumper by Ant with just a couple of seconds, about 70 seconds left as the T-Wolves got a nice win against the Spurs, 104-103, overcoming a 19-point deficit to win that game. They go to 26-14, which is actually been a thrilling game, much more thrilling than Chargers and Patriots. But I
gotta go back on my package and rewatch that game. I'm surprised I didn't watch it live myself last night, but that's on me. But getting back to the Minnesota Timberwolves, as we said before, they're doing it very quietly. Anthony Edwards, aka Ant-Man, I know he does not want to be one of the faces of the league, but the way that you're playing, my brother, you are one of the faces of the league, and he's the face of the franchise, and he's definitely one of the leaders on that team. And we talk about the depth with Jaden McDaniels and Julius Randle, his cohorts, of course, Rudy Gobert anchoring their defense to stifle Tower. We know he brings in Dante DiVincenzo. You saw what he did in the playoffs last year, especially against the Lakers. Of course, you got Naz Reid leading the way off the bench with their length and their size and their versatility. The Timberwolves, as we said before, they can be there again. On the flip side for San Antonio, a little bit of a surprising start to the year. They still hanging on with the 27-12 mark. Mitch Johnson, as I said a couple weeks ago, I know that we didn't mention his name I think you did during our preview show back in October, but he's the leader in my mind in the clubhouse for head coach of the year. I'll be honest here. No one expected the Spurs to be at 27-12. I said that they could be around the play-in tournament thing, around 500, a couple of games over, but they're 15 over right now, and they're playing very well. And they're doing this quietly as they're trying to putting Victor Wembanyama and ramping up his minutes ever since he returned from his calf injury a little bit over a month ago now. So they get Wembanyama is back, but they're easing him into playing a little bit more minutes. I know he played 27 minutes last night, but they being careful with him because he is their franchise. He is their anchor, especially on the defensive end. But San Antonio has it going on right now. I know you said they need a point guard at trade deadline time. I know De'Aaron Fox is a scoring point guard, but if they could add a little bit more depth at the trade deadline, we'll see what they can do. But right now, those two teams are doing it quietly with their records in the Western Conference.
Well, no, if you ask Chris Finch, of course, the T-Wolves head coach, I'm sure he probably would feel the same way Ed does, but they want to do it quietly, and they have done that. So we'll see if the Minnesota can keep it up. Now, continuing with yesterday's games, the Knicks, with a nice bounce back win. They beat Portland. Jalen Brunson had 26 there. Scotty Barnes had 31 as the Raptors. This was actually a pretty entertaining game. I got a chance to rewatch this game. But yeah, but a couple big points, baskets from in overtime as the Raptors edge out the Sixers 115-116 yesterday. So pretty thrilling game there. And Memphis beat Brooklyn, and the Magic beat the Pelicans behind Desmond Bane's 27 points.
Going back to Toronto, I know that they hit a hiccup in the wall during the month of December. I don't know if Brandon Ingram was going to go to the All-Star game. I was telling him to be an All-Star. He still could be that All-Star representative in the All-Star game next month in Los Angeles. But it's nice to see Scotty Barnes stepping up with that big game as you mentioned last night. I know he's been injured over the last couple years, but if he can stay healthy, I think Toronto could be there in the top six. Maybe if things will even out, they'll playing tournament against the Bulls. I don't know, but right now for Toronto, as long as both those guys stay healthy, in particular Scotty Barnes, Toronto will have a chance to make the playoffs in some sort of fashion.
Yeah, they've won 9 of the last 12 after I think they lost like 7 of their their 8, early on, after that, after that big start, starting undefeated, but they're getting back on track, 8 of their last 8 of their last 11. So a nice showing by the Raptors, and well, they get to play the Sixers again tonight. So I'm not repeating myself, folks, but I'm not repeating myself, but that's real. That's the truth. Well, we'll go through the schedule in a second, but yeah, that's the truth, folks. I'm not repeating myself either.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you, discussing the Bulls in the NBA. Shout out to our guy Brenda Schutz. We see your message in the chat. Hopefully everything is well with you down there in the state of Texas. We'll just give you the winners from Saturday's action. The Charlotte Hornets, they're currently starting to play well, even though they still a few games under 500. They destroyed the Utah Jazz 150-95.
Yeah.
No, folks, this is not a typo. That's the actual score. Everybody and their mama scored for the Charlotte Hornets.
Literally. And Trey Man only had 20. Yeah, Trey Man only had 20 points. So yeah, so you can tell how everybody on the team scored.
Exactly. Now today, Dale Curry had a ceremonial 3-point shot.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He had a couple of 3-pointers. Now you see where Steph got it from.
Exactly. Learn your history, folks. Learn your history. As we said early in the year, when Utah got out to that decent start, they can score with anybody, but their defense has been horrible. And this was LUGLY. You ain't got no alibi effort from Utah defensively. We'll leave it at that. We mentioned the Bulls beat the Mavericks. The Spurs got back on track the day before, beating the Boston Celtics on the road by 5. The Clippers, they started to quietly try to get back into it, although I think it's a little bit too late. They beat the Pistons by 6 on the road on their East Coast road trip. The Pacers won again. They beat the Heat by 22. And the Cleveland Cavaliers outlasted Minnesota 146-134. Cleveland's trying to get back on track after starting out the year with a disappointing record and dealing with injuries. So it looks like they're trying to get back on track right now.
Yeah, they broke Minnesota's 4-game winning streak. Donovan Mitchell, 28 points there. But yeah, if you took the over on this one, you had a nice start to your weekend. But yeah, I mean, Cleveland, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if they can get back on track. But as far as the Clippers are concerned, I think they're only a game and a half back of the play-in. So I think if they can keep winning, if Kawhi plays consistently and Harden plays consistently as well, I think they could probably sneak into one of the play-in spots. I'm not saying they're going to make the top 6, but they could probably still sneak in. They've been playing pretty well lately.
All right. And your winners from Friday are as follows: Milwaukee over Los Angeles, Portland, Golden State, Phoenix, Atlanta, Oklahoma City, the Clippers again, New Orleans, 76ers, and the Celtics. So those are your winners from Friday. So there's your weekend recap for the National Basketball Association. As we start to close out this segment, we'll give you the schedule for tonight and for this upcoming week around the National Basketball Association. Tonight's games are as follows: Utah will visit Cleveland as part of the NBA on Peacock and on NBCSN. The game of the night will feature the Indiana Pacers hosting the Boston Celtics, the rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals from 2 years ago. That game can be seen on Peacock and NBCSN at 6:30. Philadelphia visits Toronto again. We're not repeating this, folks. The Brooklyn Nets will travel to Dallas to face the Mavericks, and the Los Angeles Lakers, after losing to Milwaukee at home court on Friday, they'll face the Sacramento Kings on the road. And the Charlotte Hornets will face the Clippers tonight from the Intuit Dome.
We'll see if the Raptors. We'll see if the Sixers can get their lick back against the Raptors from yesterday. Tuesday. You got Phoenix. They start their East Coast trip against Miami. That should be a good one. Of course, we talked about the Bulls in Houston. They're going to be in the bad mood. Talk about Houston after the tough loss a couple of nights ago. So it might get ugly, in Houston for the Bulls, but we'll see. Minnesota, Milwaukee, an intriguing matchup here. Denver and New Orleans. The first game of the NBC Coast to Coast doubleheader, also streaming on Peacock. Got San Antonio and OKC. San Antonio has had OKC's number the last couple of times they played.
We know this year.
Yes, so we'll see what happens there. Atlanta meets LeBron, Luka, and the Lakers. And the second half of the NBA Coast to Coast doubleheader, also streamed on Peacock. You got Portland and Golden State. Should be a good one there in the Bay Area.
Your schedule for Wednesday are as follows: Toronto will visit Indiana. The first game of the ESPN doubleheader will feature Cleveland at Philadelphia at 6 o'clock Chicago time. Utah will face Chicago at the United Center. This is for Wednesday. New Orleans will host I almost say New Jersey. New Orleans will host Brooklyn Nets. The second game of the ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader will feature Denver Nuggets without Jokic. They'll face Dallas without Anthony Davis in the Dallas Mavericks. I think Cooper Flag will get a lot of coverage for that game. The rest of the schedule are as follows. The Knicks continue their West Coast road trip. They'll face Sacramento, and the Wizards will face the LA Clippers. That's your schedule for Wednesday.
I'm sure ESPN wish they would have been able to flex that Denver Dallas game out, but but I digress there. Your Thursday game here now, the start of the triple header, and this is going to be at Uber Arena. You got Orlando and the Grizzlies in Berlin, Germany. That's why for the early start at Uber Arena. That's actually the name of the place, folks. I'm not making that up. That's the play of the arena out there in Berlin. So I'm sure, hopefully, the German fans will get a nice, entertaining game here between the Grizzlies and the Magic. That'll be on Prime Video. Phoenix and Detroit. Phoenix to continue their East Coast trip. Boston and Miami. OKC and Houston. That should be a good one. That's going to be the second of that Prime Video triple header. Milwaukee and San Antonio, Utah and Dallas. The Knicks and Golden State. That's going to be the third game of that triple header on Prime Video. That should be a good one. Atlanta and Portland. Atlanta continues their West Coast trip, and Charlotte and the Lakers. So that's your schedule for Thursday for this week in the NBA.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena here with you. When we return, this will be our Sports Potpourri segment. We'll recap the Bears and Packers for one last time. We will get into some college basketball from over the weekend. And the college football playoff, the national championship game will be set for next Monday. We'll tell you how Indiana got it done over the University of Oregon. And we'll have a special double dip of Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more. You stick and stay right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Oops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health, Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded and we're live in the color on this hashtag Bears Victory Monday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow McGee on the Twitter, executors in the IG.
This is our sports potpourri segment. So any questions or comments you have for us, on any of the topics we discussed thus far on today's show, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up of the screen for you.
All right, Sid. Let's do this the semifinal game at the Peach Bowl from Friday. Get that out the way because it was really no game. The Hoosiers just dismantled the Oregon Ducks. So 56-22. Fernando Mendoza, reigning Heisman Trophy winner, had 5 TD passes. Keelan Black had 2 rushing TDs for the Hoosiers. Elijah Surratt had 2 of those 5 TD catches for the Hoosiers. On the flip side, for Oregon, Dante Moore, 2 TDs, 285 yards. And interception. The running game wasn't really too big of a factor there. It was really Indiana's defense. Of course, Moore threw an interception. And he was sacked 3 times. Just couldn't get it going there. And it was all Indiana, basically, in this one.
As you mentioned, we talked about Fernando Mendoza all year, having great statistics and leading the Indiana team, leading that offense. But that defense has been ignored for the most part of the year, and I hope people got a chance to watch their defense last Friday night. It was the 21-0 shutout in that second quarter. They got the Hoosiers off and running in complete separation for the Oregon Ducks. You mentioned about Dante Moore. He didn't know what to do. Any quarterback doesn't know what to do when pressure is constantly coming in your face. Indiana took advantage of that, putting a 56-piece when it was all is said and done. Fernando Mendoza was with that performance has set numerous records, including most college football playoff games with 3 or more touchdown passes in the season all time. He had 2. Stetson Bennett had 2 back in 2022. 2020, Mac Jones had 2. Joe Burrow the year before that in 2019 had 2. And Trevor Lawrence in 2018 had 2. So Indiana, as we said, they're known for their offense, but their defense is very underrated, and it rose to that task, especially in that second quarter. We'll do a deeper dive into the championship game next Monday on our when the game takes place next Monday on this show. But we talked about the Miami Hurricanes defense being number 1 in the country. They played like it throughout this whole tournament, but don't sleep on Indiana because this is definitely going to be a battle in the trenches next Monday night at Miami, back in their backyard for the Hurricanes.
We'll get more into it on next Monday, but I kind of feel like I know people want to give the trophy to Indiana, but if you're Miami, you're kind of using that as motivation. If you're Mario Cristobal, you're like, hey, look, they're saying that we don't have a shot at this game, even though they're playing at Hard Rock Stadium, their home field in the Miami Gardens and such. So the tickets could be very expensive. I think the lowest price is like over $3,000 for that's the lowest price. So that's a little that's kind of crazy, But yeah, look, Miami, this is going to be the best defense that Fernando Mendoza is going to be facing all year long. So I think if you could, blitz them early and such, we'll see. I think the good thing about having a week off, this is, going to be. I think that's really going to be the key here. I feel like because of the fact that it is going to be, they get a whole week off before they play again. So to prep and such. So I'm looking forward to this one. But yeah, it should be a very entertaining game next Monday down there in Miami.
Even though it's in a home stadium, LaKeena, I think I heard that Miami will have to use the visitors' locker room for this game.
Yes,
I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure they're not going to be very happy about that. So you're already making them mad by making them. Because I remember back in the day with the Schellenbergers, the Jimmy Johnsons, and the Dennis Ericksons, whenever they had to play, when they played the Orange Bowl, they would let them use their home field, even though there were a couple cases where they were the visiting team. So yeah, you're not very happy if you're Miami. So you can kind of use that as motivation. So that might be a good thing for them, but we'll see.
And also, too, I think one of those games back in the day, if you saw that 30 for 30 on the University of Miami, I think one of those games, I think it was against Nebraska, that Nebraska didn't want them to use the smoke machine, those fire extinguishers. They ended up doing it anyway.
yeah. Blame the mascot for that one, Gallagher the Ibis. He was the one that took that brought that the little smoke machine thing, get a little portable smoke machine to kind of do that. But that was pretty funny. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all this sort of plays out. But yeah, I think if you're in Miami, it's a good thing that you have a week off, and such to kind of prepare for that office. And because remember, Fernando Mendoza is also from Miami, so I'm sure he's gonna have a lot of his family and friends out there too. So, but yeah, it should be a good one down there. But like I said, we'll get more and more deeper into it next week.
All right, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. City LaKeena are here with you. Let's transition over to college basketball. Let's start out locally. This was the early highlight game, the lone game in the top 25 that was on Fox. Shout out to Chicago's very own J.C. Benetti for calling this game. It was the final line night, beating the Iowa Hawkeyes 75-69. Tavion Bakes for Iowa led the way for them with 16 points. But it's Keaton Wagler of the freshman for the Illini. He led the way with 19 points. LaKeena, Illinois had to hold on at the end. But as I said before, and I say it again, I like the options as far as scoring is concerned. They can shoot the basketball. They can also drive it to the basket. But rebounding is going to be an issue for them consistently going forward. We all know they had that versatility in that athleticism with a couple of their freshmen, including Peja Stojakovic's son, Andre Stojakovic. But it was an important win for Illinois. I believe they're fourth in conference, their third. All those 4 wins in conference play, 3 of them have been on the road, including yesterday's 6-point win.
This is Mike me 10 for 20 from 3-point range, and I'm it was really the get those second chance points. That's really what kind of helped Illinois. And I actually watched a little bit of that game yesterday. But like I said, Keaton Wagler 19 points, Stojakovic and Boswell each had 17. So I think this is like their 9th straight win, Illinois against Iowa. So they've kind of had Iowa's number in recent years. So yeah, a nice showing by Illinois over at a very tough place to play if you're a road team at Carver Hawkeye. But it's a good, really entertaining game yesterday. UCF, Johnny Dawkins guys, they get another win, squeaking out one against Cincinnati. Rutgers beat Northwestern. Northwestern lost a tough one to them in overtime, 77-75. That was a tough loss for them. Washington beat Ohio State. Zune Diallo had 22 points. Yeah, that is his real name, folks. But yeah, those are some of your scores from Memphis. Your guy Penny Hardaway hasn't had a good year this year. They lose to FAU by 11, 89-78. Yeah, not a good showing for Memphis so far. But I think they're rebuilding down there. We got a whole new roster of guys. But on the flip side, though, for Saturday,
Rutgers beat Northwestern by 2 yesterday in overtime.
Yeah.
Tough loss for Northwestern. Back-to-back road losses for Chris Collins' crew. They lost last Thursday in Michigan State in a tough one, and this one was even tougher, losing by a deuce yesterday on the road once again.
Yeah, to a Rutgers squad that is also rebuilding and kind of like learning their new roster. So NIL, folks, gotta love that. Now going to Saturday's games, Arizona proving once again why they're the number 1 team in the country. They beat TCU by 13 points. Koa Piet, if you haven't seen him play, you should. He has 20 points. He had 20 points for Arizona in that game. Wisconsin, for the 2nd straight year, beat number 2 Michigan. John Blackwell had 26 points. Michigan kind of been, on the edge there the last couple of games. Unfortunately, this kind of came back to bite them again in that game. Iowa State, they beat OK State. Shout out to our buddies for Rodeos who had to call this game in Hartford. UConn swept their season series against DePaul. Braylon Mullins had 16 points in that one. Purdue, no trouble. Purdue pulled away from Penn State. Duke with a nice win against SMU. Isaiah Evans had 21 points. This is despite Cameron Bruder struggled a little bit. He had 17, but it was still a good win for Duke. Houston, no trouble with Baylor. BYU beat Utah. Nebraska held off. They're actually down by 18, but they came back. This was actually probably the game that the first game that kind of against the wall. This is the Illinois game, but Jamarcus Lawrence had 27 points for Nebraska. They said defeated by defeating coming back and beating Indiana.
Yeah, everybody thought that Nebraska would be falling off right about now. Give shout out to Fred Hoiberg. He could be National Coach of the Year. He'll probably be Big Ten Coach of the Year. I watched them against Illinois a few weeks ago, and they barely beat them at the buzzer, but that's a good team, folks. They definitely can shoot the ball, and they definitely rebound the ball. So Nebraska Cornhuskers, I know traditionally they're known for football, but basketball, they've been turning around, gearing up for the last couple years. This year, it's starting to pay off big time.
Yeah, so look, people have been saying that this is gonna be a game that Nebraska finally gets beat. They haven't yet, so should be interesting there to see what happens the rest of the season. Sean Miller gets his first big win as Texas head coach. They beat Alabama on the road 92-88. Jordan Pope had 28 points leading the way. Texas Tech needed a go-ahead jumper, but they beat Colorado 73-71. Auburn still makes I don't know how Sid feels about this score, but Auburn and beat Arkansas 95-73.
Yay! Calipari lost. That's all that counts. I know Bruce Pearl ain't there no more, but
Stephen Pearl got a nice win. This first big win is taking over. North Carolina beat Wake. Georgia beat South Carolina. Louisville beat BC. Florida, they're starting to play better. They manhandled Tennessee. West Virginia upset Kansas. Virginia beats Stanford. Kansas is interesting because well, I'll get to Kansas in a second here, but St. John's, they got a nice bounce back win. They beat Creighton. Let me see other local games of note here. Arizona State beat K-State. Let's see. Texas A&M beat Oklahoma. UIC.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You beat me to it, but
no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
But shout out to our good friend Jay Hood from ESPN Chicago. He's the voice for UIC Flames basketball and baseball. He called a thrilling game. They beat Illinois State by 4 in overtime, 63-59 in overtime. I know UIC is still trying to get things together, but hopefully this will turn their season around. Big win on the road against the Redbirds.
Yeah, kind of an upset there because of the Redbirds only had one loss in conference, so a nice win for the Flames out there in Normal. Not a good last few days for Redbirds fans after losing a tough one to Montana State and the FCS football championship. But yeah, Bradley, Bradley, they beat Northern Iowa. These are games from Saturday, folks. Just trying to see if there's any other games. UCLA beat Maryland. Seton Hall beating Georgetown. What's going on over there at Georgetown? My goodness, they've had their struggles lately. Kentucky beat Mississippi State. And San Diego State took care of Fresno State 71-52.
All right, these are important games you should look out for college basketball for this week. None in our opinion tonight. Let's transition over to Tuesday tomorrow. Speaking of UIC, they'll go on the road to face the Northern Iowa Panthers. Panthers 12-5, UIC 7-10. That game can be seen tomorrow night on ESPN Plus at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. On ESPN2 at the same time, Virginia and Louisville will do battle. 24th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers will host Texas A&M on the SEC Network. On Peacock, St. John's 11-5. They'll host 6-11 Marquette Warriors. Rick Pitino, hopefully this will be the time for his team to get on a bit of a roll here. So we'll see what happens with them tomorrow night. Another game of note on the Big Ten Network at the same time tomorrow at 6 p.m. We'll have Wisconsin at 11-5. They'll visit Minnesota to take on the Golden Gophers. The Golden Gophers check in at 10-6.
6 o'clock the same time on ESPNU. Miami, Jai Lewis has his guys 3-0 in conference play. They go to Notre Dame. That should be a fun one. There going into this is Tuesday games, folks. UConn and Seton Hall. Chanel Holloway at his guys. I mean, I think they only have one loss in Big East play so far. That should be a fun one there. on True TV. He and Danny Hurley were actually teammates back in the day, so this should be pretty funny. There's those two face each other. Indiana and Michigan State, that's gonna be on Peacock, also on NBC Sports Network. West Virginia, after that win against Kansas, will face Houston on FS1 at 7:30. Speaking of Kansas, they host Iowa State on ESPN. We'll see if KU can get back on track. Oregon and Nebraska, they'll try to knock Nebraska out of the race to the undefeated. That's going to be 8 o'clock on BTN. Alabama and Mississippi State on the same time on SEC Network. Florida and Oklahoma. Porter Moser has his guys playing well, too, down in the SEC. So that's going to be at 8 o'clock on ESPN, too. So that should be a good one as well.
All right, Wednesday, games of importance. Kentucky will visit LSU. That's on the SEC Network Wednesday at 6 o'clock. We also have Missouri Valley Conference action. Both 8 and 9 teams. Drake, no, not the rapper. Drake will face off against Southern Illinois. Both of them are 8 and 9. That's at 7 o'clock on Wednesday on ESPN Plus. Temple and Memphis doing battle at 7 o'clock. Penny Hardaway and crew, like you said, they're struggling this year. 7:30 on Wednesday on BTN, the Big Ten Network. Northwestern will host number 13 Illinois. I know Northwestern's given Illinois trouble here and there over the last few years. Let's see if Illinois can win another road game in the Big Ten. They've done it 3 times already. Let's see if Wednesday could be number 4. At 8 p.m. on the ACC Network, I'm looking forward to this one. Number 14, North Carolina, 14-2. They'll travel on the West Coast to take on the Stanford Cardinal. They check in at 13-4.
That should be a good one. They're number 10 Vanderbilt for the first time in school history. They're undefeated. They face a Texas squad that they pulled off an upset, so we'll see if they can pull off another upset. That's going to be at 8 o'clock on ESPN2. Utah and Texas Tech on Peacock, also on NBC Sports Network. South Carolina and Arkansas at 8 o'clock, I should say, on SC Network. Utah State back in the top 25 for the first time. They're undefeated in conference play. They face Nevada on CBS Sports Network at 9 o'clock. Arizona State and Arizona on FS1 at 9:30. Michigan, we'll see how they bounce back against with the loss against Wisconsin. They face Washington on the Big Ten Network at the same time. And Duke, they go all the way to California. No, this is this is ACC play, folks. I know it's a little bit weird here, but that's going to be at
confusing.
Yes, ACC Network at 10 o'clock. Also, TCU and BYU to cap it off on ESPN2 on Wednesday.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. Winding down our show for today. We still have some time left before we get to our double dip of Old School TV Monday. One salute to the other salute is to the 85 Chicago Bears. As we do that series, saluting them throughout the season on this show. But LaKeena, real quick, Blackhawks. They're back to 500, 19-7 after a 3-0 shutout last Saturday night at Nashville. Drew Commesso, their backup goalie, 37 saves in a shutout. In the Hawks, my guy Tyler Bertuzzi outside of Connor Bedard, he scored a goal. And Connor Bedard, mentioning him just now, he was the second star of the game. He tallied 2 assists. So as we talked about before, LaKeena, the Hawks have been playing very well to start the month of January. Get to continue to roll on. Now they're back at 500. Now with Bedard back in the lineup, I would say this team will start to take off, but they still had to go through the growing pains. But right now they're playing very well. We know Nashville is struggling this year, but another big task for this young team on the road last Saturday night in Nashville. And they came away with an impressive 3-0 shutout win.
Yeah, I saw the highlights, and Commesso just played very well. Had 37 saves in that game. So a nice showing by the Blackhawks. Outside of that loss to the Capitals, they've actually been playing well. That's their only loss so far this month. So a very nice, impressive start to their January. They face the Oilers, I believe tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. No, tonight. That's
tonight. Yes, Oilers.
ESPN
yeah, the Edmonton Oilers. Yep.
Yeah, on ESPN Plus. So they're kind of in they've been pretty good too. So you got Connor McDavid and that group. So that should be a fun one. Connor McDavid gets Connor Bedard, the Battle of the Connors. So that should be a fun one. I'm gonna try to see if I can watch this game somehow, some way. But yeah, that should be a fun one between those two. And that should be a fun one out there in the UC. I'm sure that that place is gonna be rocking tonight.
Yeah, the Hawks are trying to use some of that good home cooking. I know they lost, as you mentioned, to Washington last Friday, 5-1. The Hawks, I think, for the remainder of, I think not the remainder, but I think it's the remainder of the home Friday night home games this year. I know they have a couple more dates left. They're going to wear those, the new version of the all black uniforms. Those look nice. I got to get the newer version of those at some point. But as far as their schedule for the rest of this week, they'll play the struggling Calgary Flames on Thursday and before hosting Boston next Saturday night for Hockey Night in Canada, live for the United Center. So the Hawks got a chance to collect some points here this week. And so, but like you mentioned, it's going to be a tough one tonight against the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid and crew.
Yeah, that should be a fun one, like you said. But they should be able to beat Calgary on Thursday, and well, the Battle of Original Six, for against Boston, they've been playing very well this year. But yeah, it should be a good one, there too. So yeah, it's like you said, this could be a chance for the Blackhawks to get some points. So we'll see what happens this week with them.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. Any other news and nuggets that we should be aware of before we close out with the double dip of Old School TV Monday?
The coaching carousel, the NFL, is very interesting. Right now, we talked about Matt LaFleur earlier. I know Michael Parsons has made his opinion known that he wants LaFleur to stay as head coach. Like you said, there might be other guys behind the scenes that might be, they might be gone before LaFleur, but we'll see. John Harbaugh, of course, a former head coach with the Ravens. Apparently, I guess some people are saying the favorites. The favorites are, at least for right now, are the Falcons and the Giants. What do you say?
We talked about this a little bit last Friday on the show with our girl Christine, the Queen Manica. Yeah, one of those spots will not be bad for him. You have both young quarterbacks. One in Michael Penix Jr. is coming off a torn ACL. I believe it's his second or third one, counting his college career for Michael Penix. But the Falcons got to rebuild that defense. They got a nice young secondary with Jeremy Bates, but the front four, nothing to write home about. For the New York Football Giants, you got a little bit better pieces there, especially on defense. Malik Neighbors, their star wide receiver, will enter year number 3 out of LSU. He'll be coming back from his torn ACL next year. Cam Scatterbush should be back next year. You got a nice 1-10 of a wide receiver and running back. You have Jackson Dart. So the Giants can make some moves next year if Harbaugh becomes the head coach. He doesn't have to tweak too much. So I think for me personally, between the Falcons and the Giants, I'm going with the Giants because you don't know what you're going to get from the Cowboys. Philadelphia, I'm not going to say they're in transition. They're still going to be competitive. Washington, they need to get some players back, including their healthy, including Jaden Daniels for next year. So yes, the NFC East is always competitive, but if you're looking forward to how soon you can make that jump, I think you go with the New York Giants if you're John Harbaugh.
But the NFC South, though, is always interesting because there's always going to be some, a lot of turnover. So Tampa, you know what you're going to get next year. Same thing with same thing with Carolina. New Orleans is on the come up, but you don't know how it's going to be what they do during the off season. So Atlanta might be a better spot, but you never know. We'll see what happens. Now, speaking of his old team, we'll talk about John Harbaugh's old team, the Ravens. Matt Nagy got interviewed over the weekend, and Cliff Kingsbury just completed his interview about 40 minutes ago. I know Anthony Weaver, who actually was on that team, the last team that won a Super Bowl. I know he's over with the Seahawks, with the Dolphins, I should say, right now as their DC. But what do you think the Ravens do?
Matt Nagy, he's not a bad choice. I think he'll be a better choice for Tennessee, in my opinion, with Cam Ward going into the second year out of Miami. That's just me personally. But if you're Baltimore, as we talked about last week on this show, will Lamar Jackson be part of their future? If so, that's going to be a hot, attractive spot for a head coach's spot. But if Lamar Jackson is not going to be there, it's worthless, in my opinion, if you're a veteran a veteran coordinator or a veteran former head coach that's looking for a job. So if Lamar Jackson is part of the future, that's a hot spot. If not, all bets are off.
It's going to be interesting once they get their second round of interviews, when they go down to like their final three to five guys, how much of Lamar Jackson be a part of that search. So that's going to be interesting too. Also Cliff Kubiak, of course, who's the OC with Seattle right now. He also got an interview. Also Kevin Stefanski as well. So You gotta think that's gonna. You gotta think. I guess you could say Lamar Jackson's gonna say because there's a lot of named guys that actually got interviewed for the job. So I'm assuming that that's gonna be the case. That Lamar Jackson is gonna stay there. It's gonna be part of the process. So we'll see.
And one more team before we close the segment out. The Cleveland Browns. I was listening to one of their podcasts this morning. And they were talking about asking their listeners and fans what do they think about Mike McDaniel, head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I was like, no.
I don't think
now,
so.
do I see him being a coordinator for a couple years before he gets an opportunity to head coach again? Yes. Head coach of the Browns? No. If you're that franchise, you don't need to go down that road again.
Yeah, he might have a better shot at being the OC again someplace. I mean, I know I heard some people say maybe Detroit. They're looking for an OC right now. Maybe Philadelphia if they get rid of Kevin Patullo. I know.
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts.
When they do, it's not if when they do.
yeah. I mean, I know Jalen Hurts didn't really say anything much when his name was brought up, perhaps him coming back next season. So the NFL carousel.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, the NFL coaching carousel is going to be very interesting. So yeah, we'll see.
Yep. So, like I said, that's what's going on in the coaching carousel right now. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena here with you. Now, every Monday around this time to wrap up the show, we like to put a nice bow, a positive bow on to start the week. But before we entering now Old School TV Monday, we have a double dip for you guys. We'll start out with the sad news first before we end on a high note. Actor T.K. Carter. He passed away over the weekend at his home in California at the age of 69. You may remember him as one of the original dancers on Soul Train back in the 70s when Don Cornelius moved the show from Chicago to Los Angeles. Of course, he played on Punky Brewster back in the 80s. Also, he was on Good Morning Miss Bliss as one of the original cast members before he changed to Saved by the Bell in NBC in 1990. He was on the Sinbad Show, even though it was for 1 year on the Fox Network in 93 into 94. He came back to be one of the guest hosts on Soul Train back in the mid-90s and 95. Of course, that episode featured the now deceased rapper Coolio. He did Gangsta's Paradise at that time. And also, he was at The Corner on that TV show back in the early 2000s. He was in various TV movies and TV specials throughout his career. He was a very, very talented actor. He brought charisma. He brought his positive spirit, and he brought respect to all the roles that he played. So T.K. Carter, his legacy will definitely live on forever. It passed away at age 69 from this past weekend.
Yeah, of course, his breakout role was The Thing. If you guys remember that movie, he played Knowles, and that natural charisma. That's when he started. Well, he did a lot of episodic work too. He was on Good Times. And
yes, he also forced them until we are dead. No pun intended, but that was
right. Yeah. So of course that's when his career kind of took off. But The Thing was really what really kind of took off for him. Of course, Punky Brewster for a couple of seasons as Punky and Cherry and Nib's teacher. Of course, Good Morning Miss Bliss. That's probably where most people probably remember him from. He also appeared on Space Jam. Remember that? So I had a really good resume from the late 70s all the way to the 2000s. The Bobby Brown story was probably the last, also the way back too, with Ben Affleck. That was one of his last movies and such. One of the last stuff he appeared in before he retired. Sadly passed away late Friday night, early Saturday morning. But really one of the better, great character television movie actors from the 70s, like through the late like 2010, 2020. So rest in peace to him, and you'll definitely be missed.
I almost forgot this. I saw this clip on Instagram over the weekend. You can remind me of this if you remember. He played Mr. Gaines' son on a different world. I almost forgot about that episode.
Yes.
I saw that. I was like, that's right.
Yeah, because remember I think he wanted him to retire from because he was it was during the last season, right? When they were trying to from the pit, he wanted to take over. Yes. He was kind of like I don't want to say a screw up, but didn't really have a future. And Mr. Gaines wanted to try to get him to work at the pit and such. Didn't go out, didn't work very well. They actually just showed an episode I think on TV One recently. But yeah, I remember that episode. That was in the last season. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that clip over the weekend. It's like, oh, one of those episodes you forget about, but when you see the clips, it comes back to you. So I saw that over the weekend. I said, that's right, I remember that episode. Yeah.
Yeah, he was, like I say, he was one of those actors that you may not have known his name, off the top of your head, but you saw his face. So he was one of those types of actors. So rest in peace to him, and he's definitely going to be missed as Griffin. I think I saw Mark Paul Goss, of course, who was on Gory Miss, of course, it became something. But I know he posted something flashback. I think Mario Lopez did too. That he also posted well, no, he wasn't there, but I know that they actually worked together for a little bit, but. Yeah, I know Mark Pargosa posted something on his Instagram, so make sure you guys check that out. Now, the other thing we're going to show, not what you guys celebrating, with the Bears facing the Rams, well, today, and shout out to everybody, Chris Bowden from WGN TV, a friend of the show. We got to get him back on at some point for first mentioning this. Of course, everybody else started mentioning it as well. The AFC 1986, this was the 85 season, but it was happening in 86 this day. 40 years ago, the AFC title game between the Rams and the Bears. Yep, and of course, the Bears shot the Rams 24-0, and it was on CBS, and 2 touchdowns for Jim McMahon, and it was really all Bears in this one. I know Wilbur Marshall had a scoop and score as well that kind of put the game away for the Bears and such. That was early in the third quarter and whatnot, but fumble returned from. But yeah, that was one of the things. And just imagine how times have changed, right? I mean, we're talking about January 12th, the championship Sunday. I mean, go figure. The Super Bowl's up to February 8th. So kind of weird how times have changed. But yeah, I know people were referencing that. Of course, the Bears are going to be facing the Rams in Soldier Field. Okay.
But remember, LaKeena, coming into this game, it was featuring the two best running back, arguably the two best running backs in the league, Eric Dickerson with the Jerry curl and all for the Los Angeles Rams, and Walter Payton for the Chicago Bears. Scores. Walter Payton had 18 carries for 32 yards. Eric Dickerson 17 carries for 46 yards. So both running backs struggled, but. Looking at the highlights and remembering that game, I think most Bears fans, including sure you will remember Wilbur Marshall picked up the loose, the fumble and scored. Snow starting to come down. Remember, it started out, sunny in that first half. In that second half, the snow started to come down. The game time temperature was 38 degrees. It's going to be very different on Sunday at 14 right now. But Wilbur Marshall's scoop and score off the fumble with the snow coming down. And that was the most memorable moment from that game. Of course, the Bears, as you mentioned, will go to win Super Bowl 20. We'll do that as our capper to salute the 85 Bears on Old School TV Monday in 2 weeks, because that game is on the anniversary of that day too. So be on the lookout for that in 2 weeks. But as far as the 85 title game, the Rams beat the Cowboys the week before, but they had to come from the warm weather to play in the cold, and the Bears delivered a little something for them. Their defense came up big. As you mentioned, the offense scored 2 touchdowns, but it was Wilbur Marshall's fumble recovery for a TD that put the capper on it, and one of the most iconic scenes, most iconic moments in Bears history. If you guys haven't seen it, go check out the NFL Films highlights here on YouTube. If you're a Bears fan, they'll definitely get you going.
Yeah, Dieter Block was the QB for the Rams that day. And Eric Dickerson, I know he's still, if you ask him, he is still pissed because he didn't get any touches because the defense, that wouldn't let him. And I'm sure, cause I know he's still close with the Rams franchise. I'm sure he's gonna want to go over there to Sean McVay. I'm sure he's gonna beg Sean McVay to let him, talk to that team and give him some motivation. He's gonna want to do that. So he's going to tell that defense, look, the plays for me, for the rest of that group that got their butts kicked and such, avenge us, from 40 years ago and whatnot. But, but I digress. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this rivalry. This game coming up in the divisional round. I know people want to do the whole bear weather thing, but are y'all forgetting that most of these guys in the Rams have played in cold weather? So we talked about it earlier. So y'all can stop with the whole bear weather thing, but whatever. But yeah, we'll get right into it. But yeah, this game here in particular, I know it was basically, if you hear a pin drop during that Sunday, that Sunday championship Sunday. But look, I mean, that 85 Bears team was special. So we'll see what happens in this game. But yeah, that game, yeah, you can watch the game on YouTube. The full game's on YouTube. So I know, yeah, it's right there for you. So yeah, if you want to relive that moment, you can check it out on YouTube.
All right, and that puts the cap for this week's edition of Old School TV Monday. We'll be back for a special edition of Old School TV Monday next Monday, since it's the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. We'll have a special edition of Old School TV Monday. You're definitely going to like this selection. As of this broadcast, LaKeena doesn't know yet, but I'll tell her off camera, and she'll be surprised. You guys will be surprised around this time next Monday, so stay tuned for that for next week. All right, LaKeena, take us home.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Of course, if you miss our segment, any segment, or whether it's our picks or it's our previews or wherever guest on or whatever, you can catch it. You can catch, go back and watch the replays anytime, anywhere on the Sports Chicago, especially YouTube channels. It's all right there for you. You can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas, and so much more. You can catch replays, episodes anytime on the Sports Chicago, specifically YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
All right, enjoy the NBA, men's and women's college hoops. If there's any more baseball news, we'll bring it to you guys as well. So enjoy your week, everybody. Stay warm out there, stay safe, and just be good to each other. For Sid, I like you. Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Da Bears. Holla!